Hey guys, Infidel1258 here. Today I want to share with you a clip from a recent live event where Jim Morgan and myself are going to talk about validator nodes and the burn mechanics that are built into the sale of those nodes. Why haven't SPS and voucher prices pumped if we've burnt millions of SPS as a result of the sales of those nodes? That was one thing that we were anticipating would happen. Is that mechanic broken? Are nodes a failure? What's going on with SPS and vouchers? Why are they dipping right now? Let's talk about it in this video. And if you want to be present for these live events, come hang out on Twitch TV at Splinterlands TV with me and Jim at 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Friday nights. That's Pacific Standard Time. Okay, guys, have an amazing day. God bless. Yeah, the sales, man. The validator nodes are 10 minutes. Remember, they sold the 2,000 in 10 minutes. That I think that. I was looking at, they were asking 1,000 US or $1,000 worth of SPS, and they were asking 500 vouchers, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And that technically would have equated to, you know, $2,000 because at the time vouchers were close to $2.
Yeah.
But then the fluctuations in voucher prices make it so hard to say, was it 2,000? Was it 1,500? Because vouchers very quickly went down to $1. And go ahead.
I think regardless, it was $2,000 because if you say you bought vouchers when they were $1 to $1.50, you still could have sold them to get the $1,000 at $2 and then still saved $1,000 on SPS.
Yeah.
So regardless of like when people bought in, it's still as if they spent $2,000 in value.
I agree. That's the cleanest way to think about it anyways, because if you get into like what was vouchers at that very moment and the fluctuations we've seen, you know, it's just too hard. And then trying to understand what that means in terms of value that was like burnt is so crazy because it's actually huge. I was looking at it last night with the members only, but you're talking so 2,000 vouchers or presale licenses were sold. And there's $1,000 worth of SPS in each sale, and then SPS at the time was that's $2 million right there worth of value. But then to decide how many SPS that was, because that's important, you need to divide by 10 because it was 10 cents at the time. And so
it was slightly more.
It might have been like 10.05 or something. It was, you're right. It wasn't exactly 10, but just easy number's sake, that's 20 million SPS that were, and then of the 20 million, 80% were burnt forever, right?
Which Chatter did actually post a picture on the Discord of how many were burned. It was like 18 million and some change.
Yeah. See, this is, okay, so it's even more than I'm suggesting, but this is, I have it pegged at 16 here. Oh, but it's probably,
I wasn't talking about burned, or Chatters wasn't purely burned. It was just how many were spent. Sorry.
Gotcha. So, I mean, like 15 or 16 million SPS were burned just from in the first 10 minutes of validator node sales. And that's not talking about vouchers, because vouchers were burned completely. Every voucher that was received, 500 vouchers, times 2,000, right? So 1 million vouchers were burned that will never come back. And I know we're getting more vouchers and we will replace those lost vouchers in a sense, but these ones would also be here if they, and they would also be augmenting and supply for the community, but they're gone forever. So even though we will eventually get back that supply through the daily printing of vouchers, this is a positive thing. And yet, my question and kind of that I want to raise here is, interestingly, that's a lot of assets burned. If you say the 1 million vouchers is worth $2, it's like, you know, you're talking, I think what did I say on the SPS? Was the SPS? I'm confused now, but it's a few $1 million that was just like either burnt or surrendered and part of it was put into the DAO that's held by SPS governance. So surrendered in exchange for these things within 10 minutes. And yet the prices aren't popping, right? It's like on one hand, you might say like, wow, that was quite a bit of SPS to just disappear. And yet prices declined. And I think interestingly, and maybe even more important. SPS is kind of maybe perhaps not the focus because it's so big. It might make sense to like look at vouchers. Like, why didn't voucher price spike? I think interestingly, like we're talking about before we started streaming, it's like exuberance at the beginning of a purchase, like when Chaos Legion went live, when general sale of Chaos Legion went live. There's that immediate exciting burst in purchasing, and then those people who are deeply committed and excited are satisfied for a bit. And that's when we see a lull. And that's what I feel we're experiencing now, because vouchers went down to $1 after all of those interested parties got what they wanted. And they were no longer buying up vouchers. And now they're kind of ticking back up. And I suspect we kind of keep ticking up. And they'll slowly being poured into validator nodes, but not everybody out there wants validator nodes. And so I think over like years, I suspect months and years, I think this burn mechanic is going to have a meaningful impact on SPS and voucher pricing. But it's obviously it's not impacting it in a observable way yet. I thought that was worth mentioning because it's, even I had been talking about recently the burn mechanic, and that's a thing that I was like, I guess, celebrating, that I was expressing excitement over. And yet it seems to have not impacted price. I think it has. I just think our prices would have fallen further almost. That's what I'm kind of espousing.
Yeah. Because like we think about before they were even talking about the validator nodes, right? When they were like, oh, hey, you guys have this exact day that they're coming out. And then it was like for the entire week, that's when prices started going up, right? Mm-hmm. We were able to pick up vouchers for, it was like, what, 95 cents, 90 cents? Mm-hmm. The lowest we saw it, right? And then we now talk about, well, if those million vouchers were still in the market and say we didn't even have utility for them, it would then be going down even far. Yes. I would.
I think so. Definitely. And somebody in the chat just said that, let's see, who was it? NWB says it's not just here going down, it's the whole market. And that's also part of the conversation too, because he's right. Mm-hmm. Bitcoin can't stay above 30, and everything is kind of just ticking down, and that's obviously, there's a correlation there for sure, definitely. Dr. Stealtho, kind of a big deal, a lot of money exchange and assets out of circulation. Yeah, definitely, about the vouchers in SPS that were either burnt or put out of circulation. Definitely a huge 2,000 sold in 10 minutes, guys. Like, that's millions of dollars. There was people that were really excited that those people were accumulating SPS and vouchers in advance of the sale. And that's why that energy is why it was ticking up. And then once that buying pressure is relieved because all those buyers are satiated, they've bought the nodes they want, there's just this moment of, and there's a breath. And that's what we're in now, where there, and we'll be there for a while. That because it depends. I don't know how fast it'll turn around, but I think SPS price has to tick up significantly before tranche 1 and tranche 2 start getting juicy to people, and so we'll see. Hale says, keep in mind 33% of vouchers in circulation were just burnt, as well as 2.3% of the circulating supply of SPS. This is impactful no matter what skeptics say. Absolutely. And we just have to, like, I believe that, Tails. And that's why I spent 5 minutes introing the video, or spending on this video, kind of trying to understand why hasn't SPS pumped? Because some people are probably looking at videos like from content creators like myself who were saying, this is a burn mechanic and this is a big deal. And then they're like, oh, SPS, that means SPS moon. And no, it means a positive influence on SPS pricing over a long time horizon. It's like an upward force. Same with vouchers. And I think that's your take too, Tails. I'm just speaking kind of more broadly to people who will later see clips of this video and who may have thought like, yeah, maybe they thought SPS was going to reach, 20, 30 cents because there was going to be constant buying pressure because nodes and of course that's not what we're seeing. But I do think in the long run, it's what we'll see. I do think so, just not yet.